and we open the show at the announce table. And essentially, it is the announcers, Michael Cole, Renee Young, and Corey Graves, kind of talking about the events of last week, talking about, um, the major announcements that the McMahons made, stating that they're kind of walking away, that they have given control of World Wrestling Entertainment away to others, general managers to be named in the future. We have yet to find out who any of those general managers are, but they are out there. They are coming. And Corey Graves, Michael Cole, Renee Young put over the fact that none of the McMahons are here in the building. Nobody has seen them, and they are not there. So, they kind of put over the fact that, without anybody at the helm, it could make for a chaotic and interesting night here on WWE Raw. The first time that there has not been either a general manager or a McMahon or some sort of authority figure in charge for, as long as anybody can remember. Even when they did that whole, gimmick with the anonymous Raw general manager, there was still somebody kind of calling the shots, but that's not happening as we kick off Monday Night Raw. So look forward to some chaos there. And we go right into a match, a cruiserweight match, cruiserweight championship. Buddy Murphy against Gran Metalik. This is the debut cruiserweight match here. And bout that had subpar wrestling and non-existent heat. Buddy Murphy defeated Gran Metalik in 7 minutes and 42 seconds. The Murphy's Law. Buddy Murphy got defense number 1. 205 Live was dormant. I brought it back from the dead. And that's going to be airing every Wednesday on the WWE Network in my universe. So basically Monday night in my universe, basically Monday nights are WWE Raw. Tuesday nights are WWE Smackdown Live. And Wednesday is a double feature, NXT, which you're not allowed to book in the game, unfortunately. And then immediately following NXT is 205 Live. So that is kind of like how the lineup looks in my universe. So just a quick little cruiserweight match, got a C minus. Just a way to get the champion on the show and kind of kick off the cruiserweights. From there, we go into, a backstage angle. These three guys right here, they had a pretty good week last week on Monday Night Raw as they took out the Shield. They took out each individual member of the Shield, or at least we think they took out each individual member of the Shield. Seth Rollins was laid out in the back. We're not quite sure who attacked him. We assume that it's this trio, as this trio surrounded Roman Reigns as Raw went off the air and just pummeled him. So it's basically just a segment in the backstage area. These three guys arriving at the arena, proud of their accomplishments last week. Kind of stating amongst themselves that they are going to continue to push the limits and that they're going to take full advantage of the McMahon's not being here. And Baron Corbin feeling like him being kind of the last kind of authority head. He feels like this is going to be his time to kind of step up. So we could be seeing a Constable Corbin return later tonight. It's certainly teased in this segment. Got a B minus there. From there, we switch to another backstage segment. We've got Tyler Breeze sitting in the kind of the backstage makeup area. getting his hair done, getting his makeup on, getting to be the Prince of Pretty. And Dolph Ziggler comes out and he says, hey, I've got a backstage interview and a photo shoot coming up. Get out of my way, Tyler Breeze. And Tyler Breeze, of course, gets in his face. The two exchange words and basically challenge one another to a match. And they both agree. And so we're going to see that match right here tonight on Monday Night Raw. And going to move right into another match, a tag match. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable versus the Ascension. This is just a nice little tag match right here. Essentially, the story that I'm going to tell in this match, that decent wrestling but little heat. The Ascension went over on Roode and Gable in 8 minutes and 5 seconds when Connor defeated Chad Gable. And Roode is going to slide back into the ring, and he's not going to be too pleased. Funny story here, when I booked this match, Chad Gable, of all people, was pissed off at the booking of the match because I had Ascension go over clean, and apparently that's why Gable seems off his game. So fuck you, Chad Gable. You can kiss my ass. Match got a C-. From there, we go into a backstage segment. Kind of hanging out in catering, and Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins approach. Mike Kanellis is not in the scene, but Hawkins and Ryder approach, and they kind of start hitting on Maria Kanellis. More Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, as we know. Ryder is in a relationship there, but they're kind of getting a little flirtatious. They're kind of spitting the game of if you ever want to manage real men, come on over to their side. Hawkins and Ryder looking to reform their tag team together, and they're out looking for a manager here. And when that occurs, Mike Kanellis comes in. The three men kind of have heated words, and the three have heated words together, and kind of set up a match here tonight on Monday Night Raw. And we actually go right into that match. It's Mike Kanellis defeating Kurt Hawkins with the box office smash. During the match, we also had Maria Kanellis distract Hawkins, so it's about with subpar wrestling and little heat. Maria did some good work ringside. This is just a little match here. I am having Ryder and Hawkins get back together as a tag team in my universe. I think that I need some good tag teams because I'm going to do a lot with the tag divisions on both SmackDown and Raw. So I need a few tag teams to work with, and I needed a way to get Mike Kanellis over. I want to kind of start building him. I really like him. I think he's great on the mic, and Maria is really good at ringside, so I think I can make like a good little power couple out of them. So that is kind of the plan there. It's got a D+, just a basic one-on-one match. After the match, we kind of go to commercial break. When we come back from commercial break, we get Braun Strowman in the ring, and Braun Strowman gives an open challenge to anybody in the backstage area to a match, and Shark Boy answers, gets a cheap little pop from the crowd, and we go right into that match where we get Braun Strowman destroying Shark Boy in 5 minutes and 25 seconds with a standing triangle choke. Great great performance by Braun Strowman really stood out. So just a cheap way to put Braun Strowman out over without really hurting anybody in the universe. I've got a long plan for Strowman, and it's going to kind of play out over time. But this is kind of part of it, where I'm going to kind of build him in a way that, how he kind of should be, where nobody wants to get in the ring with this guy. I mean, would you want to get in the ring with Braun Strowman? The guy's fucking huge, and WWE kind of does a pretty poor job of like putting over this badass monster kind of character, which I'm gonna do, to where you're gonna see a lot of these like squash type random people like Shark Boy showing up. Because I really kind of want to build this image of Strowman just being this guy that nobody in the locker room wants to stand up to, and wants to get in the ring with. So it's going to be a lot of these like random dudes showing up. After the match, we go into the backstage area. As you know, this match, triple threat match, was booked for Starrcade. Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, and Lacey Evans in a three-way for the WWE Raw Women's Championship. So we have Charlie Caruso giving Alexa Bliss an interview. Alexa's kind of putting over the fact that she is going to that she's going to beat Becky Lynch, that she's going to put an end to this man nonsense, and after that, Lacey Evans interrupts. Lacey Evans puts over the fact that she's going to be the one to put an end to the man, and then kind of in the middle of it, both of them realize that Becky Lynch taking the women's roster by storm the last 6 months, that maybe they should form an alliance with one another going into Starrcade, and then agree to take Becky Lynch out of the match and settle it amongst themselves. So we have a little alliance forming here going into Starrcade, and it appears that the odds are definitely stacked against Becky Lynch as Starrcade approaches, as these two seem to be on the same page and seem to be in agreement that eliminating Becky Lynch is the best play, and then letting these two sort out who's left standing to become the next WWE Raw Women's Champion. Alexa Bliss came across well. I can see why. Good rating, got a C-. Back from commercial break, and the trio, Jinder Mahal, Bobby Lashley, and Baron Corbin, come down to the ring. They're showered in booze. The crowd not happy, not pleased. And they go on to cut a promo. And they basically talk about how they are the ones that destroyed the Shield last week, that they are the true dominant faction in WWE, that they are the new sheriffs in town, and that with the McMahons leaving, that Baron Corbin sees fit to basically take over and run the show. And the first act that Baron Corbin is going to do is he's going to grant himself a WWE Universal Championship match right here tonight on Monday Night Raw against Seth Rollins. Of course, this is a big chorus of boos hit, and then Baron Corbin goes on to make a tag match here tonight on Raw. Jinder Mahal and Bobby Lashley against Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. But there is one stipulation in the match, that Roman and Dean Ambrose, not Seth Rollins. I'm sorry. That Roman and Dean must wrestle the match with one arm tied behind their back. So you can really see that this trio right here, this power trio, they're taking full advantage of the McMahons being gone, and right as that is announced, the Shield's music hits, and they come down, and they get about halfway down the ramp as they are laughing. Seth Rollins has the microphone in hand. Dean Ambrose has a mic. Roman Reigns has a mic. And the three of them are kind of at the bottom of the ramp as Seth goes on to cut a promo about how they might have gotten the better of the Shield last week with their underhanded tactics, their attacks from behind, their ploys and everything like that might have gotten the better of the Shield, but now they're looking the Shield face to face, and now it's going to be time for a fight between the Shield and this trio of power. And Seth Rollins basically goes on to say that if you want a WWE Universal Championship match right here tonight on Raw, Baron Corbin, then you've got it. He's got no problem. And Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose add in that they've got no problem. Dean Ambrose probably gets on the mic, spits some crazy stuff, puts himself over and says, I can kick your ass with one hand tied behind my back, both hands tied behind my back, it doesn't even matter. Just as the Shield is about to enter the ring, a familiar theme music that we have not heard for a very long time hits over the loudspeakers as the crowd explodes.
On this day, I see clearly everything is come to life.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Edge comes out to a raucous ovation as he is dressed in jeans. He's obviously not looking for a fight, but he does have a microphone in hand. And Edge gets on and basically cuts a promo revealing that he is the new Raw general manager. He is the guy that the McMahons have hired, that the McMahons have trusted with WWE Monday Night Raw. And who better than the guy that once had one of the highest rated segments in WWE Raw history in Edge, of course, referring to the Celebration Sex segment with him and Lita. And Edge goes on to basically tell Baron Corbin that he has no authority, and that as much as Edge would like to see Seth Rollins kick his ass later tonight on Monday Night Raw, that match is not going to happen. And Edge also goes on to say that as much as he would find the comedy and the irony in seeing Jinder Mahal and Bobby Lashley get destroyed by two guys with their arms tied behind their backs, that match is not going to happen here tonight on Monday Night Raw either. However, what is going to happen on Monday Night Raw, what is going to happen with these six guys is that at Starrcade, the main event of Starrcade will be a 6-man tag match. It'll be in one corner, the Shield, and in the other corner, Baron Corbin, Jinder Mahal, and Bobby Lashley. And of course, Corbin, Mahal, Lashley, this power trio, they would be selling the fact that this is not what they were looking for. They'd be flipping out inside the ring. The Shield, of course, would be extremely pleased. And Edge, just to kind of show that he is going to be a general manager for the people, by the people, and a guy that is going to be as fair as it comes. Edge puts a little stipulation on this match, and the stipulation is this, that he does feel like if this power trio can beat the Shield in that in that six-man tag match at Starrcade, that each member of the power trio would earn a WWE Universal Championship match to be cashed in any time that they want. Now, Edge goes on a little bit further to clarify what any time they want means. He says that it will not work like the Money in the Bank briefcase. You cannot cash it in, in the middle of a match. You cannot cash it in at the end of, a defense from the Universal Champion. But quite simply, you can enact this contract for a one-on-one match against the Universal Champion at any time, i.e., if 3 weeks at Raw, one of these men want a Universal Championship match, they just simply have to cash in that contract if they can beat the Shield. So that, of course, doesn't really change the reaction of the Shield. They're fine with it. But that, of course, piques this power trio here, piques their interest a little bit more, gets them a little more engaged in wanting to take them off. So, big debut, the debut of Edge. I, really kind of wanted somebody strong, somebody cool, and somebody that, you really wouldn't think of coming back and kind of being the general manager. Like, we've never really envisioned Edge as being, that authority figure. But the one thing I do like about kind of the Edge character, is that he can kind of really play a tweener, really good. He can play heel really well. He can play a babyface really well. And he knows the business. He's very well respected. And this is kind of an example of kind of how I'm going to have his character as general manager run. Where, you get that big babyface moment where he books the match, where the Shield is going to, get a chance to get their revenge. But he also kind of throws that kind of heel slant to it, to where he basically puts something big on the line for Seth Rollins. I mean, Seth Rollins has got to trust his two buddies in this match, and if the Shield doesn't go over, then that's 3 championship matches that Seth Rollins could potentially have and face with this power trio. So that's kind of how I kind of want to. That's how I wish that the authorities would kind of play things. It gets kind of annoying when an authority is too far heel or too far babyface. I really like where they can have the potential to fuck both sides, and that's kind of what Edge does here. So big moment in Raw. Edge is now your Raw general manager. He is commanding the ship. So this angle got the crowd hotter, got a B rating. Edge debuted his gimmick. It got a very good response, and Seth Rollins is still not suited to his gimmick, which probably hurt this rating. From there, we go to a commercial bout, or a commercial, and then we come back from commercial to a tag team match, a women's tag match. So this team right here is a new team I formed because I need some women's tag teams. I called them up from NXT. As you see, it's Kairi Sane, Io Shirai. I'm naming them Thunder Rock. This is a throwback to a tag team that Io Shirai was in when she worked in Japan, called Thunder Rock. Her partner obviously not in WWE, but I figure that Kairi Sane can very easily jump in to that role. You've seen this kind of friendship down in NXT. And this is just a super white meat baby face tag team. And they go over Alicia Fox and Mickie James in 803 when Kairi Sane gets the pinfall over Alicia Fox. So D plus segment. In my universe, these two are still tag champions. As for whatever reason, even though this takes place after Mania, these two are still the tag champions. So this is just a quick, face-off promo talking about the WrestleMania match that they had. And the Iconics won another shot at Bayley and Sasha, and Bayley and Sasha are happy to oblige. Basically let them know anytime, anywhere that they're not going to back down from the challenge. After that, we get Elias in the center of the ring, and he's got a little song for us. So Elias is going to get some cheap heat on the Detroit crowd. Maybe he talks about the fact that the Red Wings aren't in the NHL playoffs. We've got the Stanley Cup happening right now. Elias is a heat magnet, so he'll just be in the ring singing a song. Good way to get him over. Got the crowd hotter. C rating there. And after that, we go right into the match that was scheduled between Dean Ambrose and Elias. So midway through Elias's promo, of course, Dean Ambrose's music would hit. He'd hit the ring. And this is just a good match between two guys, babyface heel match. Ambrose goes over in this match, 15 minutes and 13 seconds by pinfall after the Dirty Deeds. Essentially, the story that we're going to tell in here is that in the middle of the match, Jinder kind of comes out to try to run interference. But last week they got the better of the Shield. This week the Shield gets the better of Jinder. As Dean Ambrose kind of ducks the interference, Jinder clocks Elias instead. Ambrose probably, knocks him out with a nice hard forearm shot, knocks him over the apron. When Elias is stunned, Dean Ambrose attacks with the Dirty Deeds for the 1-2-3, and Ambrose kind of hightails it out of the crowd. And Ambrose just kind of scoots out of there, which brings us to the backstage area, where we have an interview. Charlie Caruso and Edge. Charlie Caruso kind of welcomes Edge and recaps the big announcement, and Edge kind of talks about how he's excited, and he's excited to bring moments to the WWE universe. And he's happy to be back in a full-time capacity with WWE, and that he missed it. And that right here, to show the appreciation that the WWE Universe gave him with that response, is he's going to book a match right here tonight. The main event, we will see Finn Balor against Kevin Owens. So Edge kind of recapping that there's no longer going to be chaos, that there's going to be a little structure, and he makes a match between Finn Balor and Kevin Owens, a match that Edge basically says he's going to keep his eye on, as it's the dawning of a new era, and he is the new general manager, so everybody is starting from scratch, and he's going to be keeping his eye on everybody on the roster, and it starts with these two right here in the main event. So we have our main event for Monday Night Raw, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor. After that, we get a WWE Tag Team Championship match. The Revival defeated Heavy Machinery in 7 minutes and 46 seconds when Dash Wilder pins Otis after the Shatter Machine. The Revival gets on the microphone, and they cut a promo. They cut a promo about how now that they are the WWE Raw Tag Team Champions, that this is the dawning of an era of a throwback era to real tag team wrestling, to tag team wrestling that is going to be dominated by the Revival. They go on to say that there is no team on the roster, Raw or SmackDown, that can hang with this team, that they've been tagging for years, and that they are the best of friends, practically brothers. And, you know, they go on to put over the fact that, you know, they're calling anybody out. They're calling any team out in the back, whether it Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Doesn't matter. AEW, any of them can come out here and face the Revival anytime, anywhere. And the Revival gets a response pretty quickly. And it's not who they were hoping for, I can guarantee you that. The music of the Hardy Boys hits as Matt and Jeff Hardy come out to the top of the entrance ramp, and they have come out to a huge pop as they have jumped ship. They were on SmackDown. They're now on Monday Night Raw. Of course, the Revival would be in the ring. They would be just overselling the fact that this is not what they bargained for. This is certainly not what they meant by anybody. You know, they walk back their words. They say, hey, you guys are on SmackDown. And then that's when Edge comes on the Titantron from the backstage area. And Edge says, surprise. As one of my first acts as Raw General Manager, I traded for a tag team that I know better than anybody else. A tag team that I have personally been to war with many times, and I traded for the Hardy Boys. And the Revival is just losing their minds in the center of the ring, and Edge goes on to say that you know, they've got a big show coming up after Starrcade. That big show is the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And the Revival, you know, they might have bit off a little more than they can chew here as their overconfidence gives Edge an idea that, you know, begins with the Hardy Boys and ends with the Revival in a ladder match for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships. So we have our first match booked for Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It's going to be the Hardy Boys against the Revival in a ladder match for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships. So what a moment here as Edge has traded for the Hardy Boys, and this segment kind of goes over pretty well. A C rating. After that, we go to commercial break again, and Bray Wyatt comes out and kind of cuts a promo, and he's again kind of all over the place, just very lost, you know, talking about loss and talking about, you know, all sorts of different, you know, it's just a very odd Bray Wyatt character, and kind of puts over the fact that change is coming, and that there's nothing anybody can do to prevent this change. And it's a needed change, Bray says. So very mysterious Bray Wyatt here. Got a C+. They said he didn't do well going off script. Kind of weird. Bray's like one of the most charismatic guys in the world. I don't understand why he wouldn't do well going off script, but that was my bad because I booked him to go off script. So my mistake. Right after that, we get a singles match. Baron Corbin comes out one-on-one with Bray Wyatt. And Baron Corbin beats Bray Wyatt in 14 minutes and 48 seconds. He uses the ropes for leverage. This match, C+. Good little back and forth between two guys there. I want to kind of try to get Baron as much momentum going into Starrcade as I can. As that's a pretty big main event that I'm putting on there. And this kind of coincides with the story that I'm going to start to tell here with Bray Wyatt. So Baron Corbin beats Bray Wyatt. Brings us to the backstage area with an angle. We've got an interview. Charlie Caruso, Becky Lynch. Charlie kind of says, Becky, after the comments made earlier this evening from Alexa Bliss and Lacey Evans, forming this alliance, what are your thoughts going into Starrcade, having to defend the WWE Raw Women's Championship in now what almost seems like a handicap match? And Becky says, listen, they don't call me the man for no reason, and I am here to defend this title against any and all comers, and if those two think that teaming up gives them the best chance to win the WWE Raw Women's Championship from her, then they are sorely mistaken, and that Becky doesn't care if it is a 2-on-1 or a triple threat or, whatever the case may be. Becky just took down Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair in one night at WrestleMania in the main event. Surely Lacey Evans and Alexa Bliss do not scare her. So this is just a way to get Becky over some more, give her a nice little promo, and she came out good. She had a good performance, a good rating there, B-. So Becky, she's one of my number one female stars, so I'm really going to build her up, just like WWE did. I mean, she's fantastic, so keep the momentum going with Becky Lynch. Brings us right into a match. So that interview took place right before her match with Nia Jax. A decent match between the two of them. Becky Lynch defeated Nia in 8 minutes and 7 seconds with a pump handle slam. That much, I think I'm going to change that to with the disarm her, because I can't imagine Becky being able to actually pump handle slam Nia, but you never know. Essentially, I just want to have a good match for Becky, get her some momentum, keep up the momentum. Nia's a strong heel. And I don't mind jobbing her out because I don't really like her. So this is just a good, decent match between the two of them. The story, of course, that I would tell is, use her size to her advantage. Becky's kind of the underdog the entire match, and then kind of comes in and, maybe some overconfidence on Nia's part, gets her tripped up and gets her in the disarmer, and Becky gets the win. And immediately after the match, Alexa Bliss hits the ring and attacks Becky Lynch, and then the two of them, Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss, kind of double team Becky Lynch and beat her down as they leave Becky kind of in shambles in the ring, and Nia, Alexa uses Nia to do so. And Alexa grabs the WWE Raw Women's Championship and kind of raises it up over the lifeless body of Becky Lynch. And kind of maybe a little foreshadowing of what we're going to see at Starrcade. Could Alexa get one over and recapture the Raw Women's Championship? So just a little segment to get some heat on that match. Got a C rating, and brings us right to our main event. In a bout that had great wrestling and good heat, Finn Balor defeated Kevin Owens in 17 minutes and 43 seconds. This was literally just a good wrestling match to end the show. Very angle heavy for the majority of the show, without a lot of like really great wrestling matches. So this one was just simply a good back and forth between two great workers. It got a B+ match, which is very strong. Good performance, good in-ring performance by both of these guys. I did change Finn Balor's gimmick. And good open storytelling match. And Finn Balor goes over. So Finn gets the win. As Edge stated earlier, he was looking for guys to stand out. And this could be a big win for the future of Finn Balor. And not really sure there with Kevin Owens with the loss, but I'm sure he's going to be able to bounce back, as there's always a place for Kevin Owens. So that's it for this edition of Monday Night Raw. Hope you enjoyed the show. And up next is, of course, WWE Smackdown Live with the reveal of the general manager for SmackDown Live. So I wonder who it could be. Tune in to SmackDown Live and find out. Oh, I forgot. I figured I'd show you guys this here. The overall show got a B rating. It increased our popularity in 26 regions. I wasn't sure if I was hiding anything on this, so I wanted to just double check first. But like I said before, this first few weeks is going to be pretty basic. A lot of the same shit WWE is working with currently. Probably up until Money in the Bank or maybe Super Showdown, with some somewhat minor to major changes. And then after that, it's off the WWE script, and I'm going to kind of roll with my own stuff moving forward from there. But I got to build some of this stuff up, and it's easy to kind of use the momentum that is built into the game coming off of WrestleMania than it is to try to just start random X versus random Y and start with these fresh storylines. So bear with me for the first couple of episodes. It's going to be kind of basic, but we'll get there, I promise. But good Monday Night Raw. So we'll see you for SmackDown. We open this episode of SmackDown Live in the ring. We open hot with Shane McMahon inside the ring. And, despite whatever he says, you still cannot get rid of Shane McMahon. He's still lingering around here. But he's lingering around just for this segment. Shane goes on to talk about the events of last week on SmackDown Live. The events that as we went off the air, we saw Samoa Joe brutalizing WWE World Heavyweight Champion Kofi Kingston. Shane McMahon was forced to put Samoa Joe in the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match at Starrcade, featuring Samoa Joe, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, and Kofi Kingston. Of course, Shane McMahon calls Samoa Joe out, and Joe, of course, quickly responds, and the two face off in the center of the ring. Joe, of course, very confident in his actions of last week. He took out a lot of solid people off the roster. He was on a rampage with being upset about not being put in that main event at Starrcade. And Shane goes on to say that that he's only here just to see that justice is taken care of, and he is also here to introduce the SmackDown Live general manager for the entire world to see. And Shane goes on to say that the fate of Samoa Joe is going to be left in the SmackDown Live general manager's hands. And without further ado, here is that man. And a familiar tune hits the PA system as the crowd goes wild, revealing that the new SmackDown Live general manager is none other than this man.
I think I'm cute.
That's right.
I know I'm sexy.
Shawn Michaels.
I've got the looks
Shawn Michaels
that drives a girl
walks down
wild.
the
I've got the move.
flanked by only the finest security guards and police officers as he steps into the ring, and he wastes no time by saying that his first act as WWE SmackDown Live general manager is to suspend Samoa Joe indefinitely. And of course, this is met with a chorus of boos. The WWE Universe is not happy with this decision. And neither is Joe as he goes to get in Shane and Shawn's face. Joe is met by the wall of police officers and security guards. And he gets just close enough to where there's a little bit of fear in Shawn Michaels' face. He certainly does not want to cross Samoa Joe. Shawn then goes on to say that because Samoa Joe is suspended indefinitely, that means two things. Number one, he cannot have a United States champion that is suspended. Therefore, as of this moment, Samoa Joe is stripped of the United States Championship. Shawn then goes on to say that plans for the United States title will be revealed later this evening. But the second order of business in regards to Samoa Joe is that because a suspended wrestler cannot compete, he is removed from the Starrcade main event. The SmackDown Live main event for Starrcade, which was the 5-way championship scramble match. It is now back to a 4-way, Shawn Michaels says, featuring Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan, and AJ Styles. And then Michaels furthermore basically says to escort Samoa Joe from the building, that his services are no longer needed. And that is how we open up WWE SmackDown Live Week 2. As you see, this angle got a B rating. Strong way to start off the show. Got the crowd hot. The United States Championship is vacated. And, this guy's future really up for grabs as Shawn Michaels, your new general manager, comes out, makes a power play, kind of furthermore proving that the McMahons always have something up their sleeve, and if you try to, cross them, even though they are not as heavily involved, they're still going to win, and they're still going to get the last laugh. But are they? More to follow on that. As I'm sure that Joe will not take this lightly. We go to commercial break. When we get back, we're in the backstage area, and we are with with the Miz, who's with Maurice, and they're kind of talking about their USA Network television show. They're talking about their success, their fame, everything like that. When they are interrupted by Andrade and Selena Vega, Andrade reminds the Miz that regardless of how famous he is, he got a victory over the Miz last week. The Miz went on to remind Andrade that it was Carmella who lost that match, and Maurice kind of steps in and says, if she was involved in that match, the ending would have been a lot differently. So Andrade then goes on to challenge the Miz and say that put your money where your mouth is, and if you think so, let's face off later tonight. And the Miz accepts his challenge. And you get yourself a main event here for SmackDown Live. It'll be the Miz taking on Andrade Cialmas, and Maurice will be in the Miz's corner, and I'm sure Zelina Vega will be in Andrade's. So quite the main event here for SmackDown Live. That brings us to the ring. And a bout that had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. The Bar defeated the Club in 10 minutes when Cesaro went over on Luke Gallows with the sharpshooter. And this match got the crowd hotter. She got a B rating. And, this is just a way for the Bar to go over the Club. Good little tag team matchup, which will kind of set up something later on in the show. But right from there, we go to backstage segment. We have Kathy Kelly, and this is kind of like one of those sit-down interviews. It's not like a, on the mic kind of interview. She's sitting down with Kofi, Big E, and Xavier Woods, the New Day, and kind of just talking about the events that transpired last week. She's asking Kofi his thoughts on having to defend his WWE World Heavyweight Championship against 5 men, but now after Samoa Joe being suspended indefinitely, 4 men. Kofi goes on to say that it doesn't really matter how many men he has to defend the title. He is going to be a fighting champion. And then Kathy goes on to ask Big E his thoughts on facing Randy Orton later this evening on SmackDown Live. And Big E promises to soften up Randy Orton for Kofi Kingston, as we're only a couple of weeks out from Starrcade and that big Fatal 4-Way match. And Kofi, thanks Big E, and, that kind of puts over the fact that we'll see Big E and Randy Orton later tonight in action. So this got a C-, and brings us up to our next segment, which is just a quick little backstage segment. Charlotte Flair and Naomi. Charlotte Flair is getting prepared for her match, which is later tonight, actually against Naomi, and Naomi comes into Charlotte Flair's locker room, and the two kind of exchange words, and Naomi says that she's going to take pleasure in embarrassing Charlotte Flair, because Naomi can see that Charlotte is not focused. That she's so obsessed with Becky Lynch and the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship that, Naomi's going to exploit that weakness up next. So we'll see the two of them up next. And here's that match. And despite Naomi's words, Charlotte Flair does go over in this match. She defeats Naomi in a pretty good match, a C+ rating, with the figure 8. They go about 9 minutes, and they have a good back and forth contest. even despite Naomi taking the loss, I booked this as an open match because I wanted both women to kind of get a good showing out there in front of the crowd, and it went over well. It was a good little match. Um, from there, we get an angle where Asuka goes into Shawn Michaels' office locker room, where Shawn is kind of conducting his business, and Asuka says that she wants a piece of either Sonya Deville or Mandy Rose. She just wants revenge for the two of them laying her out last week on SmackDown Live. And Sean agrees. Sean says, in the interest of fairness, I'm going to go ahead and give you that match later tonight, Asuka. I'm going to give you a one-on-one match against Mandy Rose. So Sean booking a match between Asuka and Mandy Rose, which we will see later tonight. From there, as Asuka is leaving the locker room, in come the Bar. And, the Bar says that with the match earlier against the club, with the fact that they got a victory, that they want an opportunity to face the Usos. And, they want their chance at Jimmy and Jey Uso. And Shawn Michaels says, in the interest of fairness, you're going to hear that a lot from Shawn, in the interest of fairness, he sees the point that the Bar is making. So Shawn says, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a match at WWE Network special event Starrcade. It's going to be the Bar versus the Usos for the WWE SmackDown Championship. But there's one caveat, Shawn says. Shawn says that we're here to freshen up the product, that he's here to kind of shake things up, so to speak. And that the WWE Universe has seen this match time and time and time again. And Shawn says that if the Bar cannot defeat the Usos, then the Bar is going to have to disband. That'll be the last time that the Bar wrestles as a tag team together. So Cesaro and Sheamus mull it over for a moment. They kind of look at themselves and confidently accept Shawn's terms. So we get a match booked for Starrcade. It's going to be the Usos against the Bar, and it's going to be for the WWE SmackDown Championship, the Tag Team Championships. I'm sorry. And if the Bar loses, that's it. That's it for the Bar. This segment got a C+. So up next was the match that we teased, and in a bout that had decent wrestling but little heat, Asuka defeated Mandy Rose in 5 minutes and 19 seconds when Mandy Rose was disqualified. Sonya Deville runs in, attacks Asuka, and Mandy Rose takes the disqualification. Asuka was kind of dominating the contest up until then. And Sonya Deville runs out and, gets involved in it. Starts taking it to Asuka, and then Sonya, she checks on Mandy. She gets Mandy back to her feet, and that gives Asuka the opportunity to kind of get her footing back, and Asuka starts taking it to both women. And, Asuka's really laying it in, and even though it's 2-on-1, Asuka's a pretty dominating individual, and she takes it to Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, and then the lights go out, and there's darkness everywhere. And when they come back on, Asuka's surrounded by these three women. and she's stunned. She doesn't know what to do as she stands and she looks at Shayna Baszler, Jessamine Duke, and Marina Shafir as the three of them just jump all over Asuka and really pummel and really destroy Asuka. As Sonya Deville and then Mandy Rose get in on it. Everybody is in on the assault on Asuka. As this is going on, Shawn Michaels' music hits, and he comes out to the top of the stage, and he goes on to say that despite the fact that he likes seeing the new blood, Jessamine Duke, Marina, and Shayna Baszler here on SmackDown Live, in the interest of fairness, Shawn had a little idea. And that little idea involves seeing... It involves, he basically goes on to say that, if Shayna Baszler wants a piece of Asuka that bad, that she'd be willing to jump ship from NXT, despite the fact that she's still the NXT Women's Champion. If she wants her that badly, then she can have her one-on-one at Starrcade. So Shawn books a match, much to the chagrin of Shayna Baszler. I don't really think that the reaction that Shayna gives, it's not a one of fear, but it's one of this plan kind of didn't really go over as well as she expected it to, of course Asuka is just she's laid out. These 5 women have just assaulted her and have just left her out to dry in the middle of the ring, and that went over well. So a C rating, it really is to this whole segment was really to debut Shayna Baszler. I feel like she's probably ready for a real call up, and this is kind of an overarching story. So this is kind of going to be your stable right here, minus Asuka. They had Absolution. I feel like, how it's going to be set up is, I borrowed them from development just for one day. They are going to kind of bounce back and forth. I'm still going to have them in NXT to develop a little bit, but they're going to be up here as well too. And this little stable is going to be known as the Horsewomen of the Apocalypse. So it's going to be led by Shayna Baszler, and these 4 are going to be kind of her cohorts. So really, the vision is going to be Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, kind of as a tag team, these 2 floating between NXT and SmackDown Live. But it really sets up a match, a key match, and a big way to bring in Shayna Baszler. Asuka Baszler at Starrcade. So we're really getting a good Starrcade card together, as next week's kind of the go-home week. So from there, after that nice big reveal, we'll go right into a match between Randy Orton and Big E. They go about 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Randy Orton had a great performance, and Xavier Woods was good at ringside. But Randy Orton, a little too much for Big E, as the New Day was hoping to kind of chip down Randy Orton before the championship match at Starrcade, but Orton hits the RKO. He hit it probably from somewhere, and gets the pinfall victory. From there, we go to a backstage segment, and this is just a little segment. AJ Styles is in the locker room. as Daniel Bryan kind of comes in, and Daniel Bryan, very cocky, basically says that despite the fact that it's going to be a fatal four-way, he knows that he's in AJ Styles' head. That AJ Styles, ever since Daniel Bryan came back to WWE in ring action, that AJ Styles is yet to beat Daniel Bryan, and he knows that that is in Daniel Bryan, or sorry, that's in AJ's head. And it's just a little segment to bring these guys in. Gets a B rating. Nothing more than a little trash talk, just kind of building heat toward that fatal four way. From there, we get another angle between two stars on SmackDown Live, Shinsuke Nakamura and Rey Mysterio, who kind of share some words. Shinsuke, of course, former United States champion, and now that title is vacated, he's kind of cutting a promo about his intention to make it known to Shawn Michaels that he wants another opportunity with the United States Championship. Rey Mysterio kind of interrupts him, and Rey says that, since coming back to WWE, he wants an opportunity to become United States champion. That he was going one-on-one with Samoa Joe at WrestleMania, that because he didn't get to enact his rematch clause, that it's only fair that Rey gets the first crack at the United States title. Shinsuke, kind of in so many words, says over his dead body, and the two of them challenge each other to a match, which they agree upon. So Rey Mysterio, Shinsuke, later tonight on SmackDown Live. Have Alexander Wolf, Killian Dane, Tamina come out. Then you'd have the Usos come out, and they would know that there's going to be a third team involved in this matchup, and that third team then gets revealed as Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, and Ricochet, to obviously a huge pop. This is going to be my tag team moving forward. WWE put Ricochet and Aleister Black together. It's kind of a really weird pairing. I don't really care for it. And I have different plans for Aleister in this universe than tagging with Ricochet. And I just think that these two guys are super exciting. They're white meat baby faces. I'm going to call them Stage Dives and High Fives, which I think is a pretty cool name for them. And I think that they are going to be kind of the future of the tag division. And I'm going to enjoy kind of trying to build them up. In a bout that had subpar wrestling, little heat, Carmella and the Usos defeated Candice LeRae and Stage Dives and High Fives in about 11 minutes. The team that was eliminated first was Sanity and Tamina. Of course, I'd have one of the Usos go over on Sanity member, and then I'd have Carmella get the pin over Candice LeRae, probably while the two male tag teams are kind of out on the outside, maybe brawling on the outside of the ring. Carmella gets a quick victory over Candice. The Usos and Carmella celebrate, but nevertheless, the crowd still pops for this newly formed team, Stage Dives and High Fives. More to come from them. This got a C- rating. There, we have a sit down, kind of like one of those off-screen sit down or pre-taped sit down interviews with the coach and John Cena. Coach basically asks Cena his thoughts on Batista. Cena puts over the fact that the two of them have been linked together since all the way back in Ohio Valley Wrestling. But Cena kind of says that he doesn't need to beat a dead horse. That this is going to be the last chapter in the John Cena Batista rivalry, because John Cena is going to beat Batista once and for all, and he's going to run him out of WWE forever. Which brings us right into our one of our two good wrestling matches here on this show tonight. And that is that in a bout that had great wrestling and good heat. Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Rey Mysterio in 13 minutes and 12 seconds with a Samoan driver. Good match between two guys, obviously putting their name into the United States Championship hunt. This match got a B, so pretty good performance by both guys here. And then after the match, Shinsuke gets on the microphone and calls out Shawn Michaels, and he demands an opportunity at the United States Championship. In fact, he demands that Shawn Michaels just hand him the United States Championship, which of course brings Shawn Michaels out to the ring, and Shawn Michaels, carrying that United States Championship, gets in the ring, and he basically says to Shinsuke and to Rey Mysterio and to every guy in the back that nothing in life is ever going to be handed to them for as long as Shawn Michaels is the general manager of Smackdown Live. But what Shawn Michaels is going to do, in the interest of fairness, is create a tournament for the WWE United States Championship. And that tournament will culminate at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, where the two finalists will meet one-on-one to crown a new WWE United States champion. So we're going to get a tournament, which Shawn Michaels will announce next week on SmackDown Live, the tournament bracket. And that tournament bracket is going to be determined solely by him, based off of performances that he has seen, over the last 2 weeks. So Shawn Michaels kind of gives us his plan for the WWE United States Championship, which is vacated. After that, we go to our last commercial break, and we come back with a main event. The Miz defeated Andre Ciamis in 13 minutes and 15 seconds by pinfall, the skull-crushing finale. This was not my plan for this match. I actually wanted Andre to go over in the match. And I tried to book it like every which way possible. And no matter what, like, I had him outside interference, I had like cheap pinfall, I had like everything to keep the Miz strong. And the Miz was still furious with the booking. So fuck you, Miz. It's fine. I still have plans for Andre regardless. I kept him strong in the match, so that he did not take a big ding on popularity. And pretty good way to end the show. B minus, and that's all for this week. Tune in for the debut episode of 205 Live, as that'll be kicking off, and then we'll be back. We'll be back next week as we continue to build toward Starrcade. I will drop a Starrcade hype video after I post this section. That way, everybody kind of sees what the card is. Everybody kind of gets hyped with it, and then we'll do the go home week before Starrcade. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll talk. We'll see you next time. I keep doing this. I keep forgetting to give you guys this last screen right here. I keep thinking that I'm like hiding something or whatever, but that's on the next screen that I'm hiding a bunch of stuff. Show increased our popularity in 21 regions. We actually lost popularity in 18 regions. It was a up and down SmackDown live, B minus. I actually thought the Miz Andrade match was going to be a little bit better than a B minus. In hindsight, I would flip Nakamura Ray up here, and I probably would have ended up with a B rating. But pretty good show, a lot of B's and C pluses. So SmackDown Live kind of cruising a little bit better than Raw, I think. It's just Raw's had a couple of stronger main events. So thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of TEW 2016. So, where we left off, we hadn't had the debut episode of 205 Live. The show was still set for dormant, which is fine because I signed somebody to kind of run 205 Live, but for whatever reason, sometimes this game lets you sign people like right away, and then other times it's like, oh, this dude can't start for 14 days. So for whatever reason, it was a guy that was unemployed, and it was like a 14-day wait, so it sort of fucked up my plans. But I'm kind of glad that I didn't have to do the first episode, because it gives me time to kind of build up and then have that guy debut in week 3 instead of right now. So this segment is pretty basic. You got Shane McMahon. He comes out and basically talks about 205 Live and what the future is going to hold. And he explains that he has signed a new general manager to, be specifically in charge of 205 Live. That general manager has carte blanche. He's got full permission from the McMahons to do whatever he pleases in regards to the division. However, he has until SummerSlam to improve 205 Live. Otherwise, the cruiserweights are going to have to find a new home, and everybody's going to be fighting for their job. Shane McMahon then calls every superstar out. Obviously, I can't get all the locker out there, but just picture that it's everybody. I just picked kind of the main guys that I'll probably be using on this show. You got the champion Buddy Murphy, you got the veteran Brian Kendrick. Here's Mustafa Ali. A lot of good guys. So from that perspective, I'm just gonna take a note on Tony Nese's gimmick. Shane challenges the roster, and he kind of says that as far as all future challengers are concerned, for Buddy Murphy's title, he's going to leave that solely up to the new general manager. But right here tonight, we're going to see tag action, and we're going to see Buddy Murphy teaming up with Tony Nese in the main event to take on Mustafa Ali and the Brian Kendrick. So Shane kind of sets up the main event here tonight, and challenges the cruiserweights to kind of bring forth a better product. Otherwise, the McMahons are just going to cut bait and send 205 Live 6 feet under, so to speak. So I got a D-, so that tells you just how over this crew is. Next, we got a little bit of just a basic one-on-one match. Cedric Alexander versus Leo Rush. Subpar wrestling and non-existent crowd heat. They go for about 10 minutes, and Cedric Alexander wins by pinfall. It's just a way to kind of debut both characters. Leo Rush this is a young high flyer, Cedric Alexander. I actually got some pretty cool plans for Cedric Alexander, so this is just the start of that. Page gimmick change. I just got to change her gimmick because she's no longer a fan favorite. So, and it went over very good. So good for you, Paige. Paige is on my color commentary. So my color commentary includes Paige on 205 Live. So like I said, I was trying to throw a female on every show. So it gives Paige something to do. So D plus, a little bit better than the last segment, still pretty poor. And I gotta change Cedric Alexander's gimmick here. Cedric. Next up, we just have a segment. What this starts off with is you've got Shane McMahon, in his dressing room, locker room kind of office area. And he's getting ready to leave. He's getting ready to take off. He doesn't want to be involved with 205 Live any more than I think the fans want to be at this point. And Buddy Murphy charges in, kind of tells Shane, you have no right to put him in a tag match here tonight. He kind of refuses. And Shane tells him that if he refuses, he's going to be stripped of the Cruiserweight Championship. And, as Buddy Murphy is kind of leaving the locker room in a fit, outside the door is Brian Kendrick and Mustafa Ali. They kind of have a little bit of a stare down, and Tony Nese is only involved. It's Tony Nese is actually supposed to be off camera. He's just the subject on that one, but it's really just an angle involving these four guys right here, just kind of putting a little heat on the main event, and kind of going from there. Did I do the Tony Nese? I did. Came out of this looking excellent. Shane McMahon came out of this looking excellent, which with these four guys right here, that is not very hard to do. Oh, another D match here. So just a triple threat, just to kind of debut these guys right here. Akira Tozawa, Gentleman Jack Gallagher. I'll probably drop the Gentleman. I kind of hate that gimmick thing. Like, it is what it is, but I'm just not really into it. And Drew Gulak, who I actually like Drew Gulak. I might do something with him in this save. So Akira Tozawa got the pinfall over Drew Gulak with a German suplex. Apparently, in the real WWE universe, you can take 386 finishes, but in my WWE universe, a single German suplex, you're done. You're done. That's the finish. Eat it. Jack Gallagher probably gonna drop the Gentleman. This is just a good little triple threat match right here. And then we get another segment with these two here. Just kind of a little simmering tension between these two guys right here. Buddy Murphy and Brian Kendrick. And there's your main event. In a bout that had subpar wrestling and a little heat. Ali and the Brian Kendrick defeated Buddy Murphy and Tony Nese. They went 15 minutes. And I had Brian Kendrick pin the champion with a quick roll-up. So essentially, what I would want this to say is after partner miscommunication. Essentially, your typical story. Maybe he does a little Irish whip into the ropes. Hits Tony Nese, who's in bad position on the ring apron. Tony Nese kind of flies down, maybe crashes into the announce table. Buddy Murphy, concerned with his partner, Kendrick kind of sneaks in and just, you know, rolls him up for the quick 1, 2, 3. Nice kind of rolls back into the ring at the same time, but Kendrick kind of hightails out of there as we end the show with Kendrick and Ali kind of happy that they got the win over the two heels. Murphy and Nice are kind of left in the ring. Nice looking at the champion saying, "What's up, man? You're the cruiserweight champion, and you're taking an L right here on national television. What's going on with that?" So, in regards to this, Buddy Murphy and Tony Nese have absolutely zero chemistry as partners. So that's probably why this match did so poorly. It looks like Kendrick and Ali actually had pretty good performances there, C and C minus. But other than that, this entire show has been a dud, which, that's what you can expect. D rating from a cruiserweight show. This is a B-level show, so it doesn't affect popularity. It doesn't affect anything. 205 Live's on the network, so there's no ratings or anything like that. But that's it for that episode of 205 Live. Join us next week as we have the go home shows. We lead into the first pay-per-view next week's Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live. The go-home shows leading into that pay-per-view. So a lot is going to happen. We've got most of that card put together, and we'll kind of finish it off. So thanks for tuning in, and join me next week.